What happens when two old men who are set in their ways are forced to sit down and talk about their differences? Bickering, screaming, all the like. Just another presidential debate. Welcome to the Midnight Sun. Today we are talking about the debate that occurred Tuesday night. Watching this on Sunday, where we filmed this the day after, so just a little context temporally on that. Today it's Alex Fincher and myself, Warren Pruitt. Robbie Mills isn't joining us today. Yeah, right. So, talking about the debate that occurred between President Donald Trump and former VP Joe Biden, and the only consensus that I think both sides have when it comes to this is that last night was a shit show.
Yeah.
Last night, scoot in a little bit. Yeah, there you go. Last night was an absolute, because of the nature of it being a presidential debate, that's why I think it was so bad, because there were points where it was like, this is high school debate level.
Yeah.
You know.
To a degree.
God, shut up, man. Shit, there was even, did you catch Trump's dirty joke?
Which one?
When he goes, I think it was Wallace, the moderator, he goes, yeah, sir, are you finished? And Biden goes, yeah, he doesn't know anything about finishing up or something like that. He's incapable. And Trump goes, yeah, that's what you think. Like, talking about finishing. And I'm like, bruh, did you really just make a cum joke?
See, I didn't. I see how it could be construed that way. That's not how I took it.
No, for me, it was the smirk.
Okay.
It was the smirk that it said it. Because I heard it. I was, like, taking notes.
Yeah.
And I heard it. And I was like, wait a minute. Rewind, like just flashback 10 seconds, and he says it, and then he has that smirk, that Trump smirk, and I'm like, that motherfucker just made a cum joke. He just made a cum joke in a presidential debate. What the hell? Whatever, style. Anyway, there were, to give people who didn't see it, I mean, the lowdown. It was 6 segments. They were general topics. The main ones that they touched on were the economy, race relations, and
COVID, climate change. I was trying to remember the other one.
Did they separate the shutdown from COVID?
Law and Order was one.
Law and Order, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
they touched on a good few topics. Like they were the hot topics du jour. And there was just reading the headlines, because that was the first thing I did when I got up this morning. I was like, all right, let's go to the news feed and see the headlines. And Trump's racist. Trump is this, Trump is that. I was like, nobody commented on the fact that in a presidential debate, he made a cum joke, which I'm like, that for me, for some reason, just stands out. But nobody commented on the numerous like gaffes that Biden had, telling him to shut up, calling him a clown.
Calling him the worst president ever.
Yeah, and to his credit on the clown comment, he did say, I'm sorry, this person. I can't do it, but I get a feeling that was to play.
It was facetiously.
Yeah, like he was, yeah. Although I will say, Biden did have one moment that made me kind of go, like that, where he's like, all right, gentlemen, we're going to move on. That was a productive segment, wasn't it? Just that little etch of sarcasm. I'm like, yeah. Personally, I think to kind of just get the ball rolling, I think his strategy, Trump's strategy, was pretty good. And I do, for everybody out there watching going, he's an asshole. I genuinely think that his strategy was to come in there high energy and just constantly throw those like Floyd Mayweather point scoring jabs. Like they don't do anything, but it's like, that's a point. Like
what a lot of people tend to not realize is that Trump is a fighter. I mean, he, as you said, he is very high energy.
Yeah.
And
how old is he? He's like 73, right? Is he 70 or is he? I thought he was just,
I'd say at least early 70s.
Like that's where I thought he was. Early 70s, yeah.
But that's the one thing I've been hearing a lot over the years is a lot of people that don't support him. They just claim they don't like his attitude. They think he's unpresidential, and it's just like, well, look, at this point in time, you have to be a little more objective when it comes to some of these politicians. For one, he's not a typical politician. So
I wouldn't until 3.5, 4 years ago, he wasn't a politician.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Like he's traditionally just a businessman. But I mean, one thing that there was an influencer on Instagram made a very good point. One major difference between the debate style this time around as opposed to 2016.
Sure.
4 years of experience. He actually knows a lot more. He's been doing the job. And
That's true.
There was a lot more confidence. Not that there wasn't confidence to begin with.
Oh, yeah.
But there was even more confidence this time, but in a very good way, that he actually knows what he's talking about. He's seen the classified documents. He's been in the shit. He's been in it for some time. So,
yeah, he has some presidential experience now, which I would agree with you. I did notice... He still kept to that. You remember back when he was running, the running joke was, everyone says so, everyone, I know great people, they're all, it was just this general reference to, like, other people kind of thing, and they know, so, and they've told me, so I'm, that kind of thing. He still did that, but to far lesser extent.
Yeah.
A far lesser extent. So in your point of experience, I can definitely say... like his experience showed in the fact that he was actually able to cite names of people. He was, there among other things. Like it was personally, I think he was more prepared. However, he was far less inhibited.
Yeah,
he was less inhibited than in his debate with Hillary.
Yeah,
and so
then again, I would say that debate. Just the one major takeaway. That at least just was sticking out in my mind, especially as I woke up the next morning. 2016 debates, I was not furious. As much as I despised Hillary Clinton as a candidate, the debates, they didn't leave me fuming. It was very, like, both sides were able to make their points. It was just a lot more professionally done.
Agreed.
They made their jabs, but ultimately...
You'd be in jail.
Yeah.
That was the one.
Yeah, but ultimately, this one, like you said, just an absolute shit show. There were mistakes made on both sides.
Oh, yeah.
However...
Were there good people on both sides, too?
Don't start. Don't start. I'm getting so tired of that hoaxing propaganda.
So there's just so much low-hanging fruit just when it comes to a presidential election generally. There's just so much... that's there.
Yeah.
For
those of you who don't know, the whole thing had been taken out of context. The whole, it's already been debunked as a hoax. The whole fine people on both sides. He's talking about sides of the political spectrum, not as in the extremists, whether you're talking about Antifa or the white supremacists from Charlottesville, which the left really likes to bring up an awful lot.
That's what I've noticed, too, is Charlottesville actually still gets mentioned, and that was in 2017, wasn't it?
I believe so.
It was 2017. I know it was a number of years ago. Like it was 2017 or 2018.
Yeah, it was at least a year or two into his first term.
Yeah. So
and they're still trying to propagate this idea that you've got these droves, these hordes of white supremacists that are now going through our cities today and burning down, Seattle, Portland, just all these areas. And I'm thinking, have you guys not been paying attention? Have you not been watching? Because Trump was right. The majority of the violence, at least from how I've seen it as well, has been predominantly from the left. If there are white supremacists,
left-leaning groups that would identify more with the left side of the political spectrum.
Absolutely, and it's like if there really are white supremacists in these cities that are going around in droves, I haven't seen it. And
well, like the thing is I think, and this was a point that we had been talking about before this, was the conflation of right-leaning groups with extreme right groups.
Yeah.
So and I think they don't really bring up the left extreme groups because, and Jordan Peterson makes this point very well, we're just now starting to see what leftism going too far, like what leftist extremism going too far looks like.
Yeah.
In a modern age. Now we know what it looks like historically. It looks like a gulag.
Yeah.
or that's when it goes too far. Like
the domestic terrorists, like the Weather Underground.
Explain.
I'm trying. I think it was a guy named Saul Alinsky.
I know the name.
He was actually a mentor to Hillary Clinton, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to double check myself on that one.
Yeah,
but he had written a book called Rules for Radicals, and
that's where I've heard his name. I'm not familiar with him, but okay, yeah.
And there was actually, I think. I'm a little fuzzy on the details. There had been a documentary I had watched a couple of years back. It was back during around the 2016 elections.
Okay.
It was actually an FBI agent had infiltrated the Weather Underground and was just kind of discussing some of their tactics. But everything he was saying, it looks very, very much in line with how Antifa has been operating with the Black Bloc. Just using this book. And the guidelines therein. And you even see it, and I'm sure a lot of the viewers have probably seen a lot of the live footage of Antifa, whether they're protesting or as police are attempting, for example, to apprehend some of these troublemakers. One of the predominant tactics that I've observed is several of the Black Bloc members. So not only are they dressed all in black in order to be less identifiable, but as some of the Antifa members are being apprehended by the police, they will all rush the police and attempt to grab said person out and throw them back in the crowd where they all look alike.
Okay, that's all right. Well, I think I've actually seen that. There was that hair pull video. Remember that hair pull where the one person came up, jerked her by the hair, and then kind of
looked like he was 4'5".
Yeah, right. So. They don't really even they didn't bring up Trump in the debate. Tried to bring up the leftist extremists, but there weren't any questions about it, save Law and Order when he had the opportunity to bring it up. But there wasn't a whole lot of addressing.
It was essentially Mr. President or Sir, because for some reason Chris Wallace it lacks a little bit of decorum, in my opinion, at least with addressing President Trump. Yet again, they're trying to get him to condemn white supremacists. And it's like he's already done so multiple times. But the minute that Trump tries to actually call attention to the violent protests by Black Lives Matter and Antifa, not saying everyone that marches in the name of Black Lives Matter is necessarily a violent protester, but you got to admit we do actually have video footage.
There's some overlap.
Yeah, there is some overlap.
Yeah, there's very obviously some overlap. And the same. And here's the argument: is the same can be said for the right side of the crowd. Whenever things get violent, you got. If it involves left and right, you got people from the right side of the crowd that are involved in that, even though their organization that they're affiliated with. The Proud Boys are a good one.
Well, see, even in the debates, they tried to conflate the Proud Boys as a white supremacist movement, and I laughed my head off when I heard that, because they're not. They have people of all races and creeds that are involved in there.
Well, that's the thing, is their one thing is Western chauvinism.
Yes.
Which they're the one thing that you could be like, aha, gotcha, is they're that's what we're about. Western culture is better. Western culture is better. That's what they say is that's what we're about.
They try to make it seem like it's such a bad thing, but against what? The auspices of cultural relativism?
Yeah, that's not, we can't, that ends, again, and I just gotta go here, it ends with a gulag.
Yeah.
You engage in that, it just ends with a gulag. And there has been that was one when I was doing my philosophy degree, that was one that we, he brought up cultural relativism. It was in my writing class, and it was just, you gotta write about topics you don't really care for, that you're no, that's shitty. And cultural relativism was one of them. Mm-hmm. And there are some, it turns out, there are some decent, logical arguments for it, but they run awry once they hit reality. Ideas are great. I've always said ideals are great until they meet reality.
Exactly. It's the dichotomy between theory and practice. Theory has its place, but so does practical.
Hey, I've always said to you, communism looks great on paper.
No, I agree.
It looks great on paper.
I agree. It looks great on paper. But you look at every instance in which it's been practiced, and
yeah, it just ends. It ends with blood running through the streets and one guy going, "Where'd everyone go?" That's really roughly what happens. So another point that I have written down here, and you and I, we didn't completely disagree on this. I look at it like they both dodged pretty much all the questions. but there was so much interruption
Yeah.
and jabbing when one got their 2 minutes, the other one would just poke and prod and all that kind of stuff. I think there was one segment where each of them got their full 2 minutes, and then that was like...
So, one of my complaints has been there's so many people on social media, especially the day after. I'm seeing so much about Trump interrupting, and frankly, I don't agree that it was. I mean, there's a lot of context to these things. At least for those of you who didn't see the debates, a lot of times Trump would be trying to make a point. Biden would make some little jab or just an offhanded comment, and it's an attack. So Trump saw it. At least his style of personality. I mean, he stood up for himself. I mean, not to say that he could have interrupted less. I'll at least secede that. However, it was just a matter. I mean, it was just a matter of decorum. To be. I mean, it would have benefited him a lot more
to interrupt less.
Yeah, but I mean, still. I mean, it's hard to say because there are some things. I mean, for example. You look at how Trump has been treated over his first term. You look at and he even says so in the debates.
In the media, you mean?
The media coverage for Biden has been overwhelmingly positive versus the media coverage of Trump, which has been overwhelmingly negative.
Yeah, you got to go to your alternative sources to really see any non-negative. I won't say positive because I watched Tim Pool a lot.
Yeah,
and even he's like, I don't like the guy, but he did this.
Yeah,
and it's positive, or he screwed this up, and it's negative. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, but you look at what the things that he's done. I mean, for those of you who don't know, he's been going really hard after sex trafficking, human trafficking, the pedophiles, everything.
For me, it's been his stance, how he's handled China.
Yeah, that too.
Is because I know if you have paid attention at all, you like to what's going on with China and the Uyghurs.
Yeah,
China has concentration camps.
Yeah.
Everyone saw that ominous, horrifying video of the 100 or so people in what looked like tracksuits and cloth bags over their head.
Yeah.
And then that train pulls up and, all right, get up. And they start loading them on the train. It's like...
When Biden mentioned how if he were to be elected president, he would be so hard on China, I had to laugh. I just
don't believe that.
Yeah. Trump said it right, that China ate his lunch. And,
That was an interesting. That was one of those high school points where I saw. I'm just like that's how. And then he goes, "You shut up, man." I'm like, "Well, I got my little drinking game sheet and it says, 'Come on, man,' and I'm gonna count that."
I am so glad I did not decide to do that because I'd probably be dead of alcohol poisoning.
Oh my god, dude! Oh my! You know what I was surprised about? There was not one huge.
I was too.
There wasn't one huge. I was waiting for it because I'm like, come on, man, that's your trademark.
I saw one talking about if Trump's hair flutters.
Yeah.
And I think I saw it once.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Oh, man.
But
that was just fucking that game really, because I was thinking about it the whole time and I didn't have I had my little thing on my phone and every time I'd see something I'm like, I think that was there.
Yeah. Must have been.
That was it.
I had my little bingo cards. I got a bingo on at least 2 of them.
Yeah, you sent me a message. You're like, got 2. Looks like I'm getting fucked up. So Wallace, Chris Wallace, right? That's his name.
Yeah,
Chris Wallace. I just go by last names.
It's more fun to say anyway.
What?
Wallace.
Yeah.
Although not near in the same realm as Mel Gibson's iconic character.
He was clearly biased because there came a point where I think he joined the debate.
Oh, absolutely.
I think he seemed to have joined the debate.
So the people that I was viewing the debate with, very early on in the debate, we were just like, who is Trump debating here? Is he debating Biden or is he debating Biden and Wallace? And then as soon as those words came into my mind, Trump called Wallace out on it and goes, "Oh, I guess I'm debating you now."
Yeah. He's really that there was one thing that he did that made me realize that he's smarter than I've given him credit for over the past 4 years. And it was that moment where they're talking over each other and Biden says 1, da 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 da, 2, 3, and he starts to make his point and Trump goes, Wallace, you were on too, Joe. You were on, like, I was like, that's intelligence plus ADD. I recognize that because I've done that multiple times. I know what that is. Like, I'm fully aware of that. All right, I get you. So Wallace was clearly biased, and I think to me, that was a real shame because I get a feeling that if he had truly tried to shut both of them up when they were doing their interruption and everything and not... So when you have two people doing a debate and then there's one person who seems to be moderating it and then they get involved...
Yeah.
Well, so he got involved kind of pressing Trump on stuff. So not only would Trump feel attacked in a way, but Biden would be like, there's that thing where we go, oh, he's on my side. Yeah, he's on my side. I got this now.
So he felt a little bit more free to act out a little bit more.
Yeah,
I mean, and even as Wallace was trying to, I mean, Trump would start making his point, and then maybe like a sentence or two in, Wallace would, now, and what about this? What about this? And it's like that's not what a moderator's supposed to do. You ask a question, let them respond. You are not there to argue with what they're saying. There
were a couple of points where he actually, and it was on both candidates. He did it with both of them. But he let them finish, and then he goes, I don't, or he might have interrupted. I'd have to rewatch it. I only watched it once all the way through.
Yeah. Keep in mind, this is just after one viewing and the day after, so we're just going off of what we can remember.
Yeah, we're going off of a single viewing. Just it was a roller coaster of like frustration and laughter. So I'm gonna have to give myself a day to recharge. But there was one point, or there were a couple of points where, like, he would give an answer and it would be full, and he would go like, yes, sir, that I understand your point. Returning to my question, which was about this, like, it was completely veered off, and he was like, returning to the point, what about this? And he did that with both of them, which I was like, all right, that's good, because that is actually what a moderator is supposed to do.
Regardless of how the moderator acts, be consistent.
Yes, exactly. Be consistent, and he was, in a sense, after about 30 minutes. I think there was also part of Wallace that was just getting fucking irritated.
Oh yeah.
Like, he was just getting fucking irritated at all the just interruption and vitriol, and he's like, I don't like that one. You shut up.
Respect my authority. Honestly, just my biggest gripe that I noticed.
Yeah.
Essentially, they would ask Trump a question, and say it was. I mean, it wasn't every time, but Biden would make some snide comment regarding corruption or something along those lines, and so Trump would start to address Hunter Biden and his billions of dollars that he's made through his foreign deals, whether through Burisma or with China, or especially, and it was actually, I believe it was the New York Times that came out with this report, shocked that he had received $3.5 million from the wife of the former mayor of Moscow, who you do not get to that position without being really, really cozy with Vladimir Putin. However, it's not just that he received money from this foreign agent, but it was under what guise did he do so? And from the article discussed, it was actually with women who had most likely been trafficked.
Really? Yep. This was a New York Times article?
I think it was.
Because I do remember him address it, and I think you're right. I think it was.
I had just seen the title of it a couple of days prior to the debate, and I was just like, I just remember being shocked. Like, from this outlet? Really?
Yeah,
okay.
Right.
But as soon as he tries to address it, so first off, Biden immediately deflects. And this was, to Biden's credit, he actually kept his cool for a lot of the debate, which I was very, very surprised by. However, when it came to attacking Hunter Biden and his illegal business dealings, alleged illegal business dealings, Biden just immediately no, been debunked, no, debunked by who? Everybody, no, and...
Pulled the Trump card right there. Everyone says so, it's been debunked.
Well, I honestly, I take it more as Trump's humor whenever he speaks like that. I mean, clearly, if you take everything literally that they're saying, you're gonna be running in circles all night. So you gotta take some of it with
that. And I've always gotten the feeling that a president is, people look at a president like he's supposed to know everything, and I'm like, no, that's why he has a cabinet.
Yeah.
Like, that's why he has a cabinet.
That's why there are briefings.
Yeah, there's like briefings. He has a cabinet of people who specialize in economics, social policy, etc., and so forth. So the guy, when Sometimes I think you're right. I think it's humor. I think he knows that. He's a pretty socially perceptible guy. You got to remember, this dude had to deal with union bosses and mob bosses in 70s and 80s New York. So a tough exterior with a very gruff sense of humor is kind of part and parcel with that. And I don't think a lot of people really think about that when they see how he acts.
They're so used to the speaking styles of past presidents, and the minute one comes along who, although his policies are substantive, just because they're not used to his style of speaking, they immediately write him off and, I don't like this guy's attitude. But it's like you have to look at every part of his life, and that's not who he is 100% of the time.
That, and I mean, to that point, you got to think about the difference between Bush and Obama.
Yeah.
Bush stammered his way through every speech because I don't think he could. Like, when I saw him get up there, I'm like, oh my God, he could read? Like, I didn't know that. Like, I thought you just snorted your way through college, and, but then Obama comes along, and albeit with or without a teleprompter, it doesn't matter. The man, when you see him speak,
he needed a teleprompter.
He needed a teleprompter, but he could do it. He could do it really fluidly, smoothly, knew how to emphasize.
There is a particular skill that comes with being able to read text in a fluid way.
Yeah, because he could alter his tone and all of that very well with his speeches.
I will give him that.
Yeah.
However, take that away, a whole different story.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Agreed. And that's the thing, is it takes a completely different skill set to be able to really either memorize a speech, which I don't think is really far above a teleprompter, but to know your ideas and know your talking points, and then fluidly kind of not riff, but like be able to go from point to point.
It basically shows a degree of competence that comes with just the planning ahead, preparation for things, whether it's a job interview or a presidential debate. Yeah.
Agreed. And actually, when you had said Biden kept his cool, I was actually surprised that he was the one with more ad hominems towards the other guy. I really, just given Trump, like I said, Trump has a very tough. It's a gruff demeanor. He just speaks off the cuff. I expected more insults to come out of him. You know what I mean?
It's not like I agree. I was expecting a lot more insults from both sides to be coming out, but I mean, I wouldn't go so far as to say I was expecting Trump to tell Biden to go fuck himself.
Oh, no. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, that would have been the most legendary debate ever if the word fuck had made its way in there.
Bastard made its way in there.
Really?
Yeah. Trump brought up how Biden had called the troops stupid bastards.
Yes.
But of course, Wallace was trying to cut him off and quickly change the subject. Actually, that was my next point. That despite, we've already established there were interruptions both sides. That could have been better. There obviously could have been more decorum. But hey, this isn't a perfect world. It happens. That was one thing that I noticed, is that anytime Trump just really got into something deep with Biden, whether it was talking about Hunter and Burisma and the funds and the drugs, or even grilling Biden on his support of Antifa, and now obviously Biden has denounced the violence in the riots, but only months after the fact.
Yeah.
Every single time Trump was really starting to get into a role on these topics, Wallace would cut him off and then quickly change the subject, which...
Yeah.
Okay, we really would have liked to hear what Trump had to say on those. Whether you agree with him or not, they're interesting points. That you really want to know all the stances of these people, which, transitioning into the next thing, Biden straight up refused to answer the question about court packing.
I was going to bring that up because that, to me, was... You said your biggest gripe was, with the debate was... What did you... Sorry, I got a bunch of things.
I believe it was. I would imagine it would be something to do with just Wallace. Anytime, whether it was either of the candidates refusing to answer a particular question, dancing around it, or actually getting into the real bones of the real grit of whatever point they were trying to make, they would just move on and then use the excuse that we're out of time, or we've only got a certain amount of time.
Yeah,
I just don't buy that.
And see. For me, my biggest problem was that what you just brought up right there was I'm used to politicians deflecting and dancing around the question. So whenever they're like, it's like, okay, so what would you do to fix the economy? Well, my plan with the economy is a 5-point plan, and it's one more sentence, and then but this guy over here, and then they would kind of dance around.
He's a piece of shit.
Yeah. See, I think that'd just be epic rap battles of history debates styles. Like, oh my god. But for me, there wasn't even dancing around this. Mm-hmm. When he was asked, because this is one point where to Wallace's credit, is when Trump brought that up, the packing of the Supreme Court, he was like, that is a good point, Mr. Biden, or Mr. Vice President, whatever the fuck he called him.
Yeah.
What you have not denied or denounced the position. You haven't explored the position of packing the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. And when he brought that up, boy, he didn't even dance. He just went, look, the American people have to speak. You gotta go out and vote.
If I'm not mistaken, he actually also did audibly say, I'm not going to answer that.
He did.
Yeah.
That's the thing, he did. And he was in the middle of his go out and vote, and Trump was doing his little jabs, but it was justified. He goes, are you going to answer the question?
Who's on your list? Who's on your short list?
Yeah.
Who's on your list?
Who's on your list? Are you going to answer the question? He's not going to answer the question. Yeah. And he goes, no. And then, sir, are you going to answer the question? No, I'm not going to answer the question. And absolutely right, dude. And that, to me, that's a big problem because we've had 9 Supreme Court justices. There's nowhere in the Constitution that states a set number, so it can be altered. However, we've had 9 justices in the Supreme Court for, I think, a century or more, if I'm not mistaken.
And historically, I forget if it was like 7 or 9 times that a justice was appointed. It was during an election year. So this absolutely is precedented.
It's like 11 or 12, dude. Like, yeah.
I just know it had happened several times.
Oh, yeah. At least enough to establish a precedent.
But the mainstream media is trying to make it seem like this is absolutely insane, that, Trump should do what Obama did and wait till the next president.
Obama didn't wait!
No.
He couldn't get him through because they didn't have the Senate. That was the biggest thing. That, like, the way that they're spinning that is absolutely ridiculous.
They never thought Hillary would lose.
I know, man. I'm not gonna lie, dude. I was even looking at, like, I didn't have a dog in that fight because I wasn't backing Trump, and I looked at Hillary and I'm like, that voice is the voice of something evil, and I just don't think that. I'm sorry, but when you got a woman who she's walking out of a thing and then she just collapses and they hoist her into a van, I'm like, okay, you see that, and you're like, all right, maybe she's exhausted. She's an older woman, more advanced in years. She's doing all these events. She's exhausted. Mm-hmm. But then 45 minutes later, she's, hey everyone, how's it all going? How's everything going? I look at that, and again, my opinion, I look at that and I say, meth in the butt. I'm like, you took a nice big shot of meth in the butt. Like,
nice little shot of adrenochrome.
Something, dude. Like, something to get you up and like, hey everyone, how's it going? I know I passed out earlier.
I carry hot sauce in my purse.
That was fantastic. That was fantastic. And it's like every run the Democratic Party goes on the Breakfast Club. She was on the Breakfast Club too. Charlamagne. Yeah. Because both of them were on the Breakfast Club. She carries hot sauce in her purse, and apparently, according to Biden, if you don't know if it's him or Trump, you're not black. How did that not get addressed? How did that, like, Trump closing the border? So when as Trump aptly deemed it, the China plague. When the China plague first was, like, on the radar.
My favorite was the Kung flu.
That was the best one. That was the best one. The Kung flu. But when that came out and that had surfaced, and there were thousands of cases in China, and it was beginning to spread and stuff.
To this day, we still don't even know how many people died.
I know.
Yeah.
But when that came out, and he was essentially cutting off transit between China, because it's like, that's the epicenter. Yeah. We don't need that coming here until they get it under control. He was racist for that. That was racist.
That was a huge part of Biden's main point when it came to the shutdowns for COVID, claiming that Trump did nothing, did too little. And Trump pointed out that no, he actually made this shutdown from China, and people like Biden, as well as the rest of the Democratic Party, the corrupt mainstream media, all called him racist and xenophobic for doing it. And
yep.
now, and I think that was actually another key part of Trump's major strategy. So if for those of you that managed to look past the interruptions, who's getting heated, and actually paid attention to the substance of what was being said, that was a huge part of his strategy, was getting him on record to say that, no, I never said that, I never did this, when he very clearly did. And especially when it came to his support of the Green New Deal, which would have torn down buildings, been an absolute disaster for the auto industry, and even it would have cost the government $100 trillion.
Holy shit. If they hadn't shut down transit with China?
No, I mean, just like in general, it was like a green, it was a climate change agenda.
Oh, right, yeah, because I remember the Green New Deal came up on my radar. Pardon me.
Yeah.
I remember the Green New Deal came up on my radar when it was like, yeah, we want to offset the carbon footprint. I'm like, yeah, okay, aces. Like we want to decrease reliance on fossil fuels. Yeah, all right, I get you. Whatever. We want to give money to people who are unable or unwilling to work. Wait, what?
We also want to get rid of airplane travel.
Yeah, that was one. I'm like, so
are we going to have to swim to Europe now?
Or what is this, like 1876, where we all get on a boat?
I forget which.
And it's not going to be a coal or gas powered boat. It's going to be a fucking sailboat.
I forget which. I don't remember if it was which representative it was. It was somebody in the Republican Party, and they had these visual aids, and it showed Aquaman on a seahorse, and he was like, "Is this how Ocasio-Cortez is suggesting that we get around?"
Did he present that in Congress?
Or at least in a hearing.
Oh my god, dude! Yeah. I remember there was one guy. He fucking brought his snowball into the congressional hall and went, "Global warming, bullshit!" And he just holds up the snowball. I'm like, I don't understand the connect because it's snowing. Global. Okay, moving on. Mm-hmm. So. What was the point? I think we were talking about the packing of the Supreme Court was the original point, which you had said something about how that was what I wanted to bring up. Mm-hmm. You had said something about how they were talking about how the president handled COVID and the shutdowns and all of that. Yeah. And one thing that I always have to point out is while you may not agree with how he acted, because there is federal power versus state power and all of that.
With how Trump acted?
I'm talking about the issue of how Trump acted. My thing is, regardless of federal power v. state power and all of that, he acted consistently with the Constitution.
Absolutely.
He acted consistently with the Constitution. He left it to the states.
He didn't forcibly, exactly. He didn't force. It was actually, as you pointed out before, it was more of a libertarian approach.
Yeah.
So I mean, he didn't force any of these governors, any of these mayors to open up their states. He didn't forcibly mandate that the National Guard had to come into these places. He said numerous times in many, many press releases, all of the mayors and governors of these states that are facing all these massive riots, whether it's Antifa, BLM, all they have to do is ask. If everything is really out of control, and unfortunately many of them never did, and that's why we had, what was it, like a month or two of Chaz over in Seattle?
I think it was like 6 weeks.
6 weeks?
It was like, okay. I think it was like 5 or 6 weeks, something like that.
I'm surprised it lasted even that long.
Yeah, I know. To me, I thought that a great way to help the economy was to make the shutdown of Chaz a pay-per-view event. I think that would have been great. Like, it's like what we're gonna do is we're gonna send in a group of MMA fighters with 2 SEALs. Mm-hmm. And the SEALs
give AR-15s just to add a little salt to the wound of
the
anti-gun crowd
with AR-15s that we said. Well, I think if they had televised the takedown of Chaz, but it turns out that when it was taken down, it wasn't even a hardcore thing. Like a crew, essentially a crew of I think, was it National Guard that went in?
I believe so.
I think it was National Guard. They sent them in, and
within less than a few hours.
They saw a real army, and they're like, "Oh shit, that's what a real army looks like." We don't have that. Nope, we're good. White flag.
Our border wall. The fact they made a border wall. Oh my gosh.
People protesting borders by making borders
with wooden pallets and dumpsters. Oh my gosh.
As somebody who works in an industry that deals with wooden pallets, I can honestly say I stomped through the boards on those things for fun. Not a very tough wall.
They tried to do the same thing in D.C. a while back.
Was it?
And, yeah.
Oh my god.
It was just a wall of these pallets. They just basically just stood them up and kind of just intersected them a little bit. And within a matter of minutes, local police came in, and you just see them just like picking them up and just throwing them off to the side.
Can you imagine you guys got to take down a major uprising that might go against the United States, and then they get there and it's like pallets and hippies with pellet guns, and it's just like, is this serious? Are you? Yeah, all right, shit, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
like if your children try to barricade themselves like in their room or something, and like how well are they really going to be able to construct something?
Well, the funny thing is, that is a great analogy, because it started out as like, yeah, we're our own country, man, and then they ran out of food, and then they're like, we are an independent entity that is still of the United States, kind of like a territory. We need vegan pizza, is really what we mean to say.
To elaborate, it was the whole reason on why they changed the name originally from Chaz to Chop, as it was actually explained by somebody who was there. I believe it was on Slightly Offensive with Elijah Schaefer on Blaze TV. She explained that, the term autonomous zone implies separation from the U.S., but we still rely on aid from people within the U.S., and we still have families and lives within the actual United States. So we still want to be able to come and go as we please. Therefore, the necessity to change the name to Occupied Protest, which is like, all right, that was a very concise response. Good luck with your protest.
Yeah, for real. Because I remember the first one of those movements of its kind, at least that I remember, was the Occupy Wall Street. Mm-hmm. And I was, I think I was like, when did Occupy Wall Street happen? 2008? It was right around the housing collapse, right?
I believe so. I just remember hearing about it. I forget exactly.
I was like 16 when it happened, so I can't honestly. I thought, to me, it looked like a bunch of hippies with a big drum circle in Central Park. And then I'm watching, apparently Tim Pool, it was one of his, that was one of his first original pieces that he covered. Yeah. Was the Occupy Wall Street movement. And he was like, no, there was rape going on. There was rape going on in the Occupy Wall Street movement. There was a bunch of fucked up shit going on.
My ethics professor at Tech never said anything about that.
That was the thing, was it seemed like it was so peaceful, but then he's like, oh yeah, it wasn't like in Chaz. Yeah. It wasn't that bad, because in Chaz, I mean, you had people that were hearing gunshots every other night.
Local residents saying they've never been as terrified as they have in their entire lives.
Yeah. That was the thing, dude. I really wanted to go there and just to see it. You know what I mean? It's why the same reason I want to go to North Korea. I just want to see it. I don't want to be there or live there. I just want to see it.
Just dip a toe.
Yeah, right.
Over the border.
Yeah. Plus, I know that given my appearance, I'd blend with them, so I wouldn't get any hassle. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? All I'd have to do is
wear a black hoodie.
Yeah, like a black hoodie, and I'd be fine, or something like that, and it'd all be good. Mm-hmm. So that was because I remember telling my friends, and they're like, "Why the hell do you want to go there?" And I'm like, "Well, I blend in, so it's not like I'd have any hassles. Plus, I like to carry a baton. I like to carry a nice little baton."
Getting back a little bit to the debate.
Oh, right. We kind of digressed a little bit.
That was actually, so building off of everything that we've seen Antifa doing with all the riots and Chaz and all these things, that was the one thing that Biden said that just, my jaw hit the floor. I could not believe it when he made the claim, Antifa is not an idea, it's a movement, whenever he was asked by Trump to disavow Antifa, which surprisingly Trump had to be the one to ask him.
Wouldn't it the other way around? Wouldn't it? It's not a movement, it's an idea.
Sorry. Antifa is an idea, not a not a movement.
Okay, there we go. Yeah. That's what I thought, because I was like, no, Antifa is very much a movement.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody who's been paying attention for the last, couple years.
Yeah, it really, and they've grown stronger in their influence. I kind of came to on I used to look at Antifa like, oh, they're a bunch of angry
Basement
college
dwelling
students.
losers,
Yeah, like really is what they are. And then Crowder did that Crowder infiltrates segment
with,
where they
with Not Gay Jared.
Yeah. And like it was like they were passing out like knives and shivs, and
Talking
they had
about
guns,
AK-47, shotguns, sawed-off shotguns,
all that kind of shit. It's
actively
like
promoting violence against police. And
yeah, and don't get me wrong, man. When it comes to the Second Amendment, I'm like, that's your right to own arms. It's your right to keep and bear arms. But the minute you're like, we keep and bear arms so that we can fight other people, that don't agree with us.
Fight
the power, man.
Fight a systematic fascism in the U.S. that is non-existent. That totally makes sense.
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. It's honestly that'd be a decent subject for debate between these two. Is like generally the State of the Union.
Yeah,
like the State of the Union in terms of like, because you could get Biden. Trump is like, no, there's not. This isn't a fascist regime. I was elected, etc. But you have to get Biden to admit there's not inherent fascism. There's not any of that.
I want to try to put it to bed right now that if this were a real fascistic government, I mean, you look at like at least the first one that comes to mind. No, not Nazi Germany. Would actually be Mussolini's Italy. And
okay.
There was no allowance for free expression in the media. If you so much as insulted or were critical of the regime in Italy during Mussolini's reign, no one ever saw you again.
Yeah.
You were gone.
Yeah.
And so for those people saying that Trump is a fascist, do you really know what a fascist is?
That's
because some of these reporters, like, I'm not gonna lie, I get irritated when I see people like Acosta and most recently in the case of Wallace, interrupting Trump when he's actually in the middle. Not that Trump did any interrupting. Again, I'm trying to be objective here. But Trump would be in the middle of making a really good point. He was flowing, and Wallace would interrupt him. Acosta would interrupt him. All of these other clown reporters that are just talking to the president of the free world like he's beneath them, and the fact that they're allowed to do that with no repercussion other than maybe they get their press pass revoked. Oh yeah. Real fascist there.
Yeah, and that's the thing is it's like I don't think like I've lived in 6 countries on 3 continents.
Yeah.
All right. Like I've seen real communism and the real after effects of communism. Mm-hmm. When I first moved to Poland, I went to 2 schools there, and the first one I went to hadn't been renovated since communist Poland, and it looked like. And here's the thing: Poland came out of communism in 1990 or 1991.
The Soviet Union collapsed in the early 90s. I believe it was 91, 92.
Okay.
I'm going to feel so bad if I got those dates wrong. But as I've told everybody, my my specialty in history is not remembering dates, unfortunately.
Yeah. But Poland came out of communism roughly 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. And they genuinely came out of it. They de facto, de dicto, they came out of it.
Yeah.
30 years ago. De facto, it was more around 2000, 2001, 2002, around there. Because when you go from a planned economy to a free market, to a more free market economy, mm-hmm. you have to segment it and just introduce it slowly. And, okay, here's a fine example. Elevators. Now, it seems innocuous. I remember being in an elevator, and it was a girl I was dating at the time, and we would go up to, when we were going up to her apartment, mm-hmm. it was like, I was surprised that there was not somebody junked out on heroin asleep in the hallways or the corridors or something like that. And it's not to say that heroin use is super prevalent there. Yeah. What I mean to say is that it was so, the lights were flickering and out. They were really shitty quality. Building. It was run down. The elevator was one of those ones where you close this door, mm-hmm. and then you hit a button, and you literally see, we're used to the elevator doors like this, you know? This one was, you literally close a door, and then you see the floors pass by. I grazed my hand on the passing concrete. It's nuts. There was a street that looked like it had so many potholes that it was impossible to drive on the street without hitting at least 5 potholes.
Dang.
Yeah, it was, and this is out of communism.
Yeah.
So in communism, I can't even imagine
Which was
what it was like.
It was another thing in the debates that Trump was trying to get Biden to address, was just because Biden made the claim early on, I am the Democratic Party, I represent my party.
I remember that.
And Trump was calling him out on a lot of the socialist tendencies that a lot of people, especially those that dub themselves the Squad, that have been trying to push for, whether it's Bernie Sanders or Rashida Tlaib, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, and the like, and yet he still I forget exactly how he responded. It was either dodging the question or just not really like, no, that's not what we're doing. That's not what we're doing. And yet, and it kind of goes back to the whole Green New Deal thing that Trump was trying to, as part of his strategy, get Biden to disavow. And so when the one major takeaway, at least on Trump's part, the strategy was to get Biden on record to say that he doesn't support these things when he has said them in the past, in order to alienate some of his more radical supporters as well. And ultimately, I mean, you're the libertarian here, so I can't say here or there as to how many people that are undecided would go one way or the other based on that performance. We'll probably have to tell more later on in the next couple of debates.
Hopefully, and you bring up a good point. I really hope there's another one.
Yeah.
Given that there have been articles circulating about, is there going to be another debate after all that? Personally, I think this debate was a perfect microcosm of two old dudes just set in their ways. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like you just can't change their minds, so they're gonna be like, "Oh, you're wrong, you fucking hippie, you're wrong, you goddamn socialist," like shit like that.
Yeah.
But I really hope there's gonna be. I really do hope there's gonna be another debate. It'd be a damn shame if there's not, simply because this is like, not to, me. I'm one for. I'm not progressive, but I am one for progress.
Yeah.
I do like, but there are certain elements of there are certain traditions that I honor.
Yeah.
And this is, like, the debates are where we get to see the two guys right next, or ladies, whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. We get to see the two candidates right next to each other, same stage, responding to the same question.
Yeah.
We get to see what, and Biden had a pen and a wire, but
yeah. They're, just for those of you who haven't seen it yet, I actually just saw a video on Instagram that there is a visible wire hanging out of Biden's jacket. So it just has to make you wonder why they rejected Trump's offers, not only to drug test both candidates, but also to have an independent third party check both candidates to make sure they were not receiving outside aid via listening devices.
Assuming we can find it, assuming we can get a good shot of it and everything, we will attempt to put it in the end of this video, just so that we're not full of shit. Yeah. Because it very clear he actually jacked with it a little bit, and if you watch him, there are multiple points where he kind of like, he'll say something and then he'll like look to the side and like,
there were even times,
oh yeah, no this.
As maybe Trump was making his statement, or they were jawing back and forth, Trump and Wallace, there were times Biden would just kind of sit down and just kind of close his eyes, just like, I mean, maybe to your average onlooker, maybe, maybe he's just thinking really hard, or he was really just trying to drown everything out just so he could focus on what was listening.
Yeah.
At the moment, it's speculation, but we'll see what happens.
Like I said, if we can find that video, I'll take we'll try to put it in the end here, and it'll really make the it'll drive that point home, because that one was, when you showed me that, I was like, oof. Yeah. Oof, like that's no bueno for you, buddy.
There had been previous pictures or previous images of Biden with it just looked like his ear, just something was off, and as it turns out, it was some sort of listening device that was more the same color as his skin tone. Yeah. And so, I mean, as soon as the debate started, my eyes immediately darted to his ears, but I think because and again, just speculation, so I'm not saying either here or there, this is just my thoughts, that they became aware that the public, at least a small percentage of them, were aware of what he was doing, and so they had to go through a different route. How they pulled it off is beyond me at the moment.
Now, Poole brought up an interesting point. Forgot it was Bone Transit. It was Bone something. So, like, it turns out, I don't know if you remember this, but there was a cell phone about 10 years ago where what you could do is it had a speaker on it, but it was a particular type of speaker. It was really interesting. What you could do is you could place it right here on the bone of your jaw, and it'd send the vibrations up here and hit your eardrum, and you would hear the music in your ears.
Really?
It was very interesting, and I was, and Poole had brought up a device of that nature, and he's like, I mean, it exists. So very well, what it could be is he has something that sits perhaps on his back or something like that sort of just travels en route to his hearing canals.
Interesting.
And yeah, again, speculation, but in the same token, that sort of thing exists. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a device right in the ear.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, man. That to me, when he brought that up, I immediately thought of that cell phone because my cousin had it.
Yeah.
My cousin had the phone, and he was like, "Yeah, check this out. It's really awesome." And I tried it. And I'm like, "What the hell?
I can hear it. What sorcery is this?"
The last point I wanted to bring up, and this kind of we can close out on this, but it was just the energy difference between the two. And I realize, Trump names all of his opponents. He gives them all funny names.
Yeah.
Little Marco, and then Sleepy Joe.
Sleepy Joe
has been my favorite was Mini Mike.
Yeah.
Mini Mike was just that was funny, but he calls him Sleepy Joe, and I know what that is. It's a very good device. It's actually if you say that enough, it'll skew the perception of the other guy, and you're like, oh, he is sleepy. But when you look at the energy of those two, man, Trump came in like ready to go. He was and he got heated at certain points. And so did Biden. Biden got heated at certain points.
Yeah.
But the energy difference was very apparent. And there is not enough
just throughout the speech. It was for Biden, it was a little bit more spurts, and Trump, it was just very steady
and high energy.
High energy.
It was steady high energy, and for him it was at a point of passion. It ticked up, and then it was very, generally lower energy.
Like he would kind of come out of his stupor. Who's attacking my son? What?
Yeah, that took away the dementia. They say that vivid memories of loved ones can bring one out of a senile episode. So
yes, I have heard that too.
Yeah. So fun fact, just for people out there. But for me, the energy difference between the two is actually a really important factor. Because you got to think, these dudes are in their 70s, and Biden's almost 80. But like, assuming he wins the presidency, I think he's 77 right now.
Yeah.
And he'll be in his early 80s when he gets out of office, man, or after the first term. So you got to really think, man.
Looking at him now, how are 4 years of even immeasurably more stress?
Yeah, that's the thing, and not to credit Trump too much, but like. The President of the United States of America has a very stressful job. Look at Obama, dude. Obama went in a young 40-something-looking-year-old black dude, just I'm ready to do this, man. And he came out, he was 78 years old.
I would say that all previous candidates, with the exception of Trump, surprisingly, have looked substantially older and more weathered.
That's the thing, and Trump hasn't. His energy has made... I think he's gone down a little bit. But it's taming.
Yeah.
It's like, when he first got in, he was used to dealing with construction people and different business people and all that. Mm-hmm. So he had to have this charisma and all that.
It's like he's had that high level of energy pretty much his entire life.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And that sort of energy is actually really, really good for the country.
Yeah.
Simply because if you have somebody who's constantly like, oh yeah, it's kind of like having a low testosterone male. Not to get too chauvinistic or anything right here.
Kissinger.
But when you look at a low testosterone male versus a high testosterone male, the low testosterone male is more shit, man. Not to get too vulgar, but after any man masturbates, does he want to do anything? Like, no, he just wants to fucking lay there and go to sleep. Mm-hmm. Whereas the high testosterone male. Well, I'm ready to go. Accomplish one thing. All right, what's the next challenge? What's the next thing on the plate? What's next on the docket? Let's do this. Mm-hmm. And that energy can be imposing. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, I live in America. I'm an American citizen. For me, I want a dude who's like, what's next? What are we doing? That's not a good deal for my people. I'm not doing that. We can talk about it, but I'm not doing it. And that energy is a major thing for me. So I don't know if you I imagine you think the same thing.
Yeah,
but
I agree. I agree. The energy levels are definitely important. Last thing I wanted to touch on. I know I was going through a lot of social media pages, a lot of comments during the debate, after the debate, especially most of the day throughout today.
It's kind of the pulse of America.
Yeah. I know what Instagram says goes. However, I was just seeing a lot of comments talking about how Trump was coming across as a bully. He was interrupting too much. I know we've already touched on that a little bit. You just got to take into context the amount of attacks that he's experienced over the years.
Yeah.
I mean, if you constantly have people I assume the hundreds of thousands, at least with the amount of bad coverage he gets from the media and from what we've seen online, as well as maybe for some of you in person, just hundreds of thousands of death threats and just these horrible vitriolic things.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I don't know about you, but I would be, I'd have a tight sphincter like everywhere.
You'd be heated, man.
Because we naturally want people to like us, but I mean that only goes so far.
And that brings up a good point. I think part of this, you got to think that a presidential debate is a forum for those two, and that's it. There's no press there to ask them questions. There's just a Wallace, and that was kind of an inhibitor. But in the same token, I think he, and I think both of them to an extent, took this as an opportunity to all those messages that they tried to get out there to that may have been interrupted by media, or if they were taking questions from an audience and they just interrupt and stuff like that. This was a way for them to, as fluidly as they could, get the point out there, like get the point across, whatever it might have been. Mm-hmm. But I think this was a forum for them to be able to like just say it and get it all out there without any interruption, save the moderator.
Yeah. And I mean, just back to my point. As far as we talked about a little bit earlier on, the issue of name calling. Surprisingly, Trump really, aside from Trump telling Biden,
I'm gonna shut you down for a minute, Joe.
That too. Aside from Trump telling Biden he's not smart, we really didn't hear any other ad hominem attacks.
Honestly, there was the smart one, and then there was I don't even think it was an attack. It was when he said, "I'm going to shut you down for a minute." I think that was just his humor coming out because they were talking about shutdowns and stuff.
Yeah,
but
a
little more playful. But in the same token, that wasn't really an attack. That was, I need you to be quiet so I can make this point.
Yeah. Versus from Biden, who referred to Trump not only as a clown, but the worst president ever. And then I was actually quite surprised about this. Told the president to shut up at one point.
Well, when you get the opportunity to tell the most powerful man this side of the hemisphere to shut up, I'd take it too, just for the sake of being able to do it. Like, I told him to shut up. I got him.
I'll agree with you on that one. However, it is just surprising to me how at least the message boards, comments, everything I've been reading, so many people are jumping on Trump for not being presidential, not being more polite in this particular debate. Frankly, what is more disrespectful than actually telling your opponent to shut up? I don't know if I've ever seen that in any of the presidential debates.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, I know I'm only 27 years old, but I've been watching politics for some time now, and I have yet to see either candidate resort to that. Not that it doesn't happen, because American politics is a crazy, crazy sphere of our society.
It really is. The one other thing, this is my critique towards the debate format generally, is I think 2 minutes is way too little amount of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
2 minutes is way too little time to really delve into whatever the topic of the of debate at the time is.
Yeah.
And I just think that's too little time. So hopefully they actually decide to be like maybe like 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Or something like that. But I also think that they're like, these motherfuckers are going to interrupt each other out the wazoo. We can only give them 2 minutes so that way.
It doesn't help whenever one of the candidates is debating not only the other candidate but the moderator.
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, that's really how it rolled. And hopefully the debate commission will recognize that and be like, look, we need somebody who is a little less partisan. You know what I mean? Like,
agreed.
Again, I'm really fingers crossed for that Joe Rogan 4-hour debate Just really hoping for that.
I'd love to see that at this point. Maybe even Tim Pool or Tucker Carlson would be a choice for me as well.
I think Tucker Carlson would do good at it because he hasn't had nothing but positive things to say about Trump. He's had his criticisms, his critiques of Trump's presidency. Because personally, I watch Tucker for entertainment purposes. He's funny to me.
Yes, he is.
He's funny to me.
He's a very funny
guy. Yeah, he is. But we will call it there, and we can look. Hopefully, fingers crossed for A, the Rogan debate, but B, just future debates. I regardless of the shit show it was, I did enjoy it.
Yeah.
I mean, it just for entertainment value, it was good to see these two old geezers go at each other.
Up to the cortisol levels, at least in my case, just a little bit. But,
yeah.
Ultimately, after we got some time to cool down from the circus that we witnessed, just really taking the time to just think about, process what we witnessed, and just try to break it down. But we'll definitely have to go back and watch some sound bites. And
we'll watch some sound bites. Maybe do a little get Mills on here, do a little something, a little 3-way something with the next debate.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, this will be fun to watch.
If anything, this election is going to be even more of an exciting race to watch than 2016 was.
And 2016 was pretty contentious, man.
Yes, it was.
It was. Well. That'll wrap it up here for us at the Midnight Sun. You guys, stay tuned. Come back every Sunday. Like, subscribe, share this video if you liked it and everything. Also, keep tuned in. Go out, vote. Let your voice be heard. You know what I mean? Later, guys. Have a good one.